This is the Blackboard Basics webinar series, number 2 in the series, and we are talking about roles today, which is looking at what are those privileges, what do all of those things mean, what can people do when you give them those privileges. So we're going to actually talk about that today because there's a lot of confusion, not only about what they can do, but how you can actually give people those privileges to do the job that they need to do in Blackboard. So even if you don't think you're going to need this information, you may be put into an administrator role further down the line, and this can come in handy as you move forward. And I keep seeing names popping up, which I love. I'm smiling over here. You just can't see it. All right, so this is me. This is what I look like. I'm not just a voice. My name is Monica Garcia. I am married, so hence the Mrs. Generally, people I either go by Ms. or Monica. I am really informal simply because Mrs. I think someone's calling my mother-in-law. So you can call me Monica, you can call me Ms. Garcia, you can call me Ms. G, hey you, however you want to refer to me, I will answer probably. So my role here in Keesler Faculty Development is I am the online learning course director, and what that means is I am triple hatted, and I actually serve in the role of instructor, a CDM, as well as training manager for our online courses here in faculty development. I also serve as a subject matter expert in Blackboard and online course design. Across the training group and actually across AETC. I've helped several of folks that are in here today, and I just love my job. So if ever anyone ever needs any help, please pick up the phone and call me, and I will help you out in any way I can. So why am I qualified to be giving these? I actually hold certificates from Blackboard as an online instructor and also have an advanced certificate in online instruction. I also recently received my certificate from the Online Learning Consortium for online teaching. So I have a few credentials, but a lot of it has to do with I've been working in the AETC Blackboard back since 2015. And I have actually had to work around some of the loopholes that we've experienced. So a little bit about me. So let's do a quick poll. Are you ready to rock some rolls? I know I'm funny sometimes. See some yeses in the chat and yeses in the polls. I'm happy. So either way you want to answer, I'm happy. So this is another thing that I like to do during this is I like to demonstrate how to use some of these functionalities in DCS just so you can see if you do move forward and you're going to use a synchronous session and you want to use DCS, I want to showcase some of what you can do in the system. So I've got yeses coming from all over, and I've got some thumbs up, and I've got some yeses in the poll. All right. So we are going to go ahead and end this and keep moving forward. I love it. Everybody's ready. And the numbers keep on climbing. Cool. Love it. I love seeing everybody so excited to be here. All right, I'm going to go ahead and publish this so you can kind of see what that looks like. And we've got a bunch of thumbs up over here on the left, and we've got a bunch of yeses here in the chat function, which means you are all ready. So we're going to keep moving forward. All right, so just a quick kind of, just from my knowledge, I like to know what are you all doing? What is your experience, or what is your current role within Blackboard? Just go ahead and throw it in the chat. Course builder, student, course developer, student, instructor. Okay, and it's okay. You don't have to have a role. We just want everyone here to learn and no experience. That's why you're here, right? Okay, Mr. Natty. Mr. Natty, you probably know a lot of what I'm already talking about here. Maybe it might be a little refresher. Okay, awesome. And Mr. Natty wants a certificate. Okay, so we are going to keep moving forward. Awesome. All right, so let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So this looks like a couple of these I'm going to fly through, and then we're going to get to our demonstration at the end. Now, I need everyone to keep their fingers crossed because I am on the AFNet because our learning Wi-Fi service is down. And so let's all keep our fingers crossed that I don't get kicked out at some point. If that happens, please bear with me and I will be back as soon as possible. But in the meantime, we're going to keep on rolling. So today we're going to look at just an overview of what the roles are. And then we're going to look specifically at each of them. So we'll look at the system roles, we'll look at the course roles, the institutional roles, institutional hierarchy, node association, and we will close out the session and I will show you how to create user accounts. And that is probably the most common function that you will do in the administrator role is create those user accounts, especially if you're either an instructor or a course developer utilizing Blackboard. So I'll roll through those steps. And all those steps are in your user guide or your webinar guide. Also in our guide, you're going to see some other links are embedded in there that will take you to that Blackboard help site where this information is compiled from, and it'll go more in depth into like how to edit things as far as your user accounts. So, roles overview. So in here we are looking at our 3 types of roles, which as I mentioned are our course roles, institution roles, and system roles. And then I'm also going to talk about a little bit about something called the privileges description sheet. And this will be something that I'm going to email out to all of you. It is a spreadsheet. I'm not going to bring it up because it is incredibly hard to read at first glance. But basically, I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but it is something, just know that I am going to send to you in the follow-up email when I send the link to the recording. All right, so our 3 types of roles. Course roles are where they control access to content and tools just within the course. So you can course roles will give are what instructors kind of control to give access to people on what they can access within each course itself. So generally your instructors are going to have the instructor role and your students are going to have the student role. Student role is where they can't see any of the additional buttons and behind the curtain, so to speak, in that course. Your institution roles, they control what the brands, your tabs, and the modules. So your modules are like your little boxes at the front when you log into Blackboard. So those are those little boxes that house like your courses. They house course catalog, your organizations. Those are what you see up front, and your institution roles are what control what users can see when they log in. And then finally, your system roles are the roles that actually control your administrative privileges. So this will only apply to those requiring any administrative functions. You will know if you have any administrative privileges if at the top of your panel you have a little button or it says System Admin. So that is how you know you have any kind of administrative privileges. So the privileges description sheet, this is something that you will, as I said, it is actually a spreadsheet that has every single role and it will actually break down what each role has the ability to have access to. And when I say it breaks down, it will literally break down by the functionality, by the tool. I mean, it even talks about you doing the, um, now I can't think. It talks about like adaptive release. I couldn't find the word. You know when your brain goes blank? So adaptive release, it talks about tools, who has access to using those. So this spreadsheet is really good if you are trying to decipher what roles you want to give which people in your organization. Students, as a pretty much general rule, don't get any privilege up to attend the course. But if you have people who are SMEs and you want to give them a certain level of administrative rights, this is going to tell you what roles you want to give them so that they can do the job to assist in the development process. So it, as I said, it has numerous administrator privileges on it. It's super comprehensive. I mean, it has everything for both Ultra and for Learn. The version that AETC has is the Learn version. So if you ever go to the help site, you are looking for Blackboard Learn to get the information that you need if you're looking for how to do something. The spreadsheet tells you what you need to, what settings you can turn off and on in order to make things available as well. So it's a great sheet. It is in your guide under that, under the privileges. You'll see it's blue. It's a hyperlink. So if you open it in the PDF, you might have to right-click it and then copy the link into your browser, but it'll open it up. If you want the Google Doc version of this guide, let me know and I will send you the link. So our next step is system rules. So I'm going to go a little more in depth into each of these roles. Those were just a quick overview. Your system rules, as I said, this is basically allowing you to see what privileges you have in the system as a whole. So they control what sections of the administrator panel are available to you. So if you have access to the administrator panel now, you'll probably see you have a section that says users, you have a section that says courses, one that says organizations, and then one that says communities. So if you look in that, the level of rights that you have in that panel, in the system, are going to dictate how many different options you have in each of those modules. So those boxes are modules in the administrator panel. So most users have a system role of none. I want to say that the default system role is none. And even if you have some level of administrator privileges right now, you will not see the system roles unless you are a system administrator. And to my knowledge, unless Mr. Natty, you're still a system administrator, the only system administrators that we have right now are up at, you are a system administrator. Okay, so you have the system administrator then. So Mr. Natty is one, but, oh, just for Kiesler. Okay. So, but for for the entire system, that is up at AETC. And for those who were familiar with him, Mr. Joe Bentley is no longer our Blackboard administrator. He was promoted, and so he's no longer in that position. So our POC for in the interim is Mr. Gordon Fail, and he is actually the AETC A35 administrator for Blackboard. So if you have any questions, you can email him, and he will then distribute your question to his texts that fall below, and then he'll get back to you with a question. So I actually spoke with him a couple days ago, and that was the instruction that he gave me on for people trying to reach out with questions regarding system level. All right, moving on. Your default system roles, and these might look familiar if you have any kind of administrator privileges. And these are going to be on your spreadsheet. So your default system roles are your course administrator, your community administrator, a guest, learning environment administrator, none. As I said, pretty much the default one is none for everybody. Observer. So observer is one. I did not go into depth on this one because I did not want to talk about something that we cannot administrate because you do need to give these roles, the observer role, at the system level. However, for those of you who are looking to put your CDCs online and you have had struggled with how to have your UTMs and supervisors get access to the course and be able to only see the people that are assigned to them, the observer role is the answer. It was actually developed so that parents could track the progress of their children, and it only allows the observer to see those people who are linked to them. And it allows them to see materials and grades. So I asked the question about how we get that. I'm still waiting for an answer. So those are our system roles. As I said, just look at your worksheet or your spreadsheet that's in your guide, and that will have a great explanation of what each of those roles can do. So now let's move on to course roles. This is going to be the one that each of you are going to be most concerned with. And this is going to actually be the one that you will probably be using the most. So course roles, they control access to content and tools within the course. Each user is assigned a role for each course in which they participate, which means that you can actually be assigned multiple roles. So you can be course roles. Literally means that you control what each person has access to at the course level. So that way you don't need to worry about an instructor being able to access another course's content if they're a student in that course. So it'll allow you to have control over that. And the instructor has this capability in their course. You can set the roles when you are enrolling users in the course, and you can even edit them after enrollment. Another role that I actually discovered recently in your courses is something called the moderator. But your moderator role is awesome because it allows you to have other people moderate in the discussions. And so you can actually have students practice moderating discussions if that is something that you need to utilize in your course. As another function, you can actually have your instructors moderate rules where they have to approve posts before they post into the forum. So that way you can kind of preview what the students are posting before everybody else can see it, and you can either give them a thumbs up or a no-go and tell them to redo it. But that is edited in your roles. In your user guide, I have a chart in here that gives you an overview of what your standard course roles are. And as I said, it has the chart. These are just a list of what you're going to see. So you have your course builder, your facilitator, your grader, your guest, your instructor, your student, and your teaching assistant. Another role that's not on here is that observer role. And there's no description for it, but I can send you a link with a description if you would like it. But that, as I mentioned, the observer only sees what you want them to see and only sees the users that you want them to view. So there are several steps in order to utilize that though, and I will send you all the information if that's something you're interested in pursuing for your course. All right, institution roles. As I said, we're just going to roll through these because I want to get to that demonstration, and I am the moderator. You were just talking about the same as facilitator. I believe it is. Yes, yes, the moderator is the same as facilitator. If you're looking at moderator as far as permissions in your discussion boards, though, the moderator role is a separate thing that you have to give them. But I believe having the facilitator role in the course will allow you to assign that. Generally, your facilitator is used as a for teaching assistants, or if you have other people that are kind of tapping in to help you as an instructor. So there's so many more roles than just instructor and student that I discovered even just through in preparation for this webinar, which is really awesome. Let me know that we have so many more things available that are going to meet our needs, especially as we're transitioning into putting a lot of CDCs online, where we want to give different people different roles to have access to material, but not everything all at once. All right, your institutional roles. They grant and deny access to your content collection files and folders. And though your content collection is literally where all the content for your courses is stored, you also have an institution content folder where all of there are folders for your entire institution in there. If you haven't checked out your content collection yet, I highly recommend it, because sometimes you need to clean it out and you might actually see a lot of things that are old that you can get rid of. But it's a great place to actually load your content and then link it into your course. But the institution roles allow you to grant and deny access to the people that actually have access to that content. System administrators can assign different institutional roles to different users on their system and may add new institution roles. So again, this is generally handled by the AETC system administrator. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, since there probably aren't any system administrators in here. Everyone has system administrator rights at a certain level, but not overall rights. It is always good to do a trial run first. You have no idea. I use my coworkers as guinea pigs all the time. So you want to get someone in there and try it out. You possibly could even try out a dummy account and use that to test out a lot of your things that you're trying to utilize. And that is something that I do quite a bit. Is I have a dummy account that I use and I work out the bugs. Yeah, exactly. So like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time on institution roles, simply because you're really not going to be a person who's issuing them. I really just wanted you to know what they are so you can understand the difference between your system roles and your course roles. Ah, gotcha. Okay, so you are a system admin, so you have all the rights. I wish I had all the rights. So you could actually use that system, that observer role. You can issue that to folks if that's something that they're actually looking at utilizing. So good to know. I'm glad you brought that up. So that's what I get for assuming that nobody is a system admin. Then we have one pop up. Lesson learned. So institutional hierarchy. Chances are you've seen your institutional hierarchy if you are a system admin and you didn't actually know what it was. So what is the hierarchy? Your hierarchy is like a little map, and it's located in the communities box in your admin panel under your system admin tab. So your hierarchy is where it allows administrators to create your multi-level framework. It looks like, literally is a hierarchy. It's like a little map of where everyone is in the organization. So for us, it's from the Air Force. It says U.S. Air Force at the top. I'm going to show you a picture here in a minute. It goes all the way down. And it'll actually tell you what your level of rights are, because what your system admin rights give you access to will show if what you have access to is bold in that little map. So if it's grayed out, you don't have access to those different areas. But if it's bold, then you can see what's in there. So Blackboard Learn will mirror our institution hierarchy in this little map. It can also break privileges down to the unit and flight level. So we're going to talk about nodes here in a little bit. This is how you know what your node is, and also how you can see where what level people have administrator rights to, because you can actually delegate admin rights at each of these little levels. It also gives to control to individual institutions to administer their own hierarchy level nodes. So if you only want someone to have, if you want someone to have system admin rights, but you only want it at maybe the flight level, you can do that. So does this look familiar to anybody? Has anyone seen this? This is what your institutional hierarchy looks like. So if you can see my little dot, over here on the left, this is your list of nodes. So you can see at the top is the Air Force, then you have the Academy, we have AETC, and everybody that falls under AETC. We have IMSC, we have AFIT, AFPC, Air Force Services Agency, AMC. So literally, these are all of the agencies that fall under the Air Force that have Blackboard. Lackland is there. Why do I not see Lackland? Lackland's there though. They should be. They should be under AETC. It might just be the, oh, JBSA. There you go. They fall there. You might just not be in this picture. This is a screenshot I took on my computer and then applied the little letters, so it's not as fancy as some of the Blackboard screenshots. But I want you to see what our hierarchy looked like as opposed to one in the generic Blackboard one. So yes, this picture is in the guide. All the pictures that I'm showing you here on the slides are in the guide. So I built the slide presentation so it follows your guide. So if you look in your guide, referring to your guide, you're going to see that those letters actually correspond to your identification of what they are. So if you look at letter A, those are your nodes. Those are actually the identifiers for that your courses are going to be assigned to. So it could be, for us, it could be a MAGCOM, it could be, you have the Air Force Academy, it could be just another separate institution. The Navy has one in there. Also, it can even go down to where we have several here at Keesler, where it's all the way down to the flight level. So you can even have a node that is attached to a specific flight and then have your courses attached to just that flight's node. Your page title is letter B, and that identifies the hierarchy level node that you are looking at. So right now, we're looking at the Keesler level node in this picture. You could then create children level nodes using letter C, where it says create node. That's your button to do that. Letter D is your hierarchy level node. So what that means is all those little buttons that say administrators, courses, users, tabs, modules, tools, etc. You will be able to apply rights or permissions to each of those areas for that node that you are looking at. So if I were to click on administrators, then I would be able to see who has administrator rights. Finally, E you can actually search specific nodes. So if you have a really crazy long list, you can search for the nodes under that search function. Hierarchy breakdown. So we're going to look really quick, and will the node list always be available? Or I'm going to show you how to get to the hierarchy. Hierarchy is actually, if you go to the System Admin tab when I do a demonstration, I will walk you through how to get to that. But it's located under your Communities module on the System Admin page. And the node list can be minimized. So if you saw those little, yes, I can send you the PDF, Sergeant Gibbs. And you too, Mark. You could, the nodes can be minimized. Tell you what, if you, can you guys email me if you want one? I might lose track of who wants one. Okay. So, but I will send it to you, I promise. But yes, you can minimize those nodes. There's a little arrow. You click it, and it'll expand and point down. And then if you click it again, it'll point out, and it'll minimize everything and hide. All right. So we're going to look at how to administer the hierarchy, how to add an administrator to the hierarchy, and edit or remove a hierarchy level. All right. All of your system administrators automatically have access to all the levels of the hierarchy. And this includes if you've been given system admin rights in just one of those levels. So if you are, say you're given admin rights at the Keesler level, like I have admin rights at the Keesler level, that means that I can see courses, or I can see all of the nodes, or I have access to all of the nodes that fall under the Keesler level. If you give system admin rights to someone at a MAGCOM level, then they are going to have administrator rights at all levels that fall under that MAGCOM level. So you want to be very mindful of what you want people to have access to. So if you do not want them to have access to everything, you are going to have to only give them rights to what you want them to see. If you want to add an administrator to a hierarchy level node, all you have to do, and this is a question I get quite a bit, and this is in the guide, all you have to do is in that node that you want to give them administrator rights to, you select the Administrators tab, select Add Administrator, you browse for their username, and then you add whatever system rights you want them to have for that hierarchy level node, and then click Submit. Under the roles, you would select the administrator roles that you want to assign to the user. So this is where, if you want someone to have administrator rights, this is where you can add them and to your node, and then if they did not previously have the system admin tab, they will now have a system admin tab at the top. So if you have instructors that you want to give system admin rights, you can do it here in the hierarchy. If you need to edit or remove someone, say someone is PCSing, or you have someone who retires, someone who does not need those rights anymore, you can easily remove them from the hierarchy by simply going back to the admin tab and then clicking remove. So again, that is it's in the guide. All right, node association. We're talking a lot about nodes. What is a node? Okay. Your node is basically that identifier for that specific level in your institutional hierarchy. All of your courses can be are associated to a node. And you will see it. Each person is associated to a node, and each course is associated to a node. Where this is important is if you have a course that is not associated to the node that an individual falls under, they will probably not be able to see it depending on what level of rights they have. So if you have someone who only has rights at the flight level and the course doesn't have that, or maybe they have the Keesler node, they're not going to be able to see that. So having the right node is vital to ensure that the right people are able to see that. Same with people. So if you have students that you're assigning, you're going to want to add a node to them, or people to your hierarchy. You're going to need to add that node to their account. You have default course settings such as menu structures. They cannot be controlled. That cannot be controlled through nodes, and that should be themes. That is a switched typo. So menu structures and themes cannot be controlled through nodes. I hope I spelled, yes, I spelled it right in the guide. I just didn't spell it right on the slide. So they cannot be controlled through nodes. But other things like tools, if you want to make certain tools accessible to your courses for your entire flight, you can do that in the hierarchy because it's assigned to your node. But if you're just trying to structure menus or a certain color or whatnot for your flight, you cannot do that through a node. You have to do that in each course individually. All right, finally, this is what a lot of you are here for, creating user accounts. So creating user accounts are actually really simple. When you go to the System Admin tab, you are going to be looking for the box that says Users, and then you're going to just select Create User. You're going to fill in the spaces that have the asterisk and select Submit. So you can either create users by all at one at a time, which can be very time consuming if you have a small course. That's not a big deal. If you have a large course, like I know a lot of you do, you might want to use the create the batch file. This is in the guide. And there, if you see that link, that is going to link directly on how to do that process in the help forum or in the Blackboard help site. This is really an amazing way to create user accounts for a large number of people at one time. So for those of you who have courses that are introductory skills and you have hundreds of students that you're trying to enroll, this would be a great option for you to do. I will not demonstrate this today because it is kind of time consuming, but I will show you all how to create a basic user account. All right, so if you give me a minute, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to take a trip into the administrator panel. Yes, it actually is a CSV. So someone asked, can the batch input file be as simple as a CSV? And yes, actually the file is a CSV. All right, so let me just see. If you guys can all see my screen, can you please give me a thumbs up? Outstanding. All right, here we go. We're going to take a trip into admin land. So first, because you all were so enthralled with the institutional hierarchy, I'm going to show you where you can see it. So my admin panel might look a little bit different than some of your admin panels simply because it depends. Remember I said it depends on what roles you are assigned in the system. So whatever system admin rights you've been given is going to determine what you can see on your admin panel. So to go to the institutional hierarchy, you're going to go down to the communities module. So again, remember all of these boxes are what we call modules. And you're going to locate the institutional hierarchy. And this is where it'll bring up your map. And you can see, so I have system level user admin rights. So this is another thing where you're given only specific rights to certain things. So the only thing I have like user account, but that's it. Like, so I can see everything because of, I can see users because of the type of courses that we do. But that's like it. I can't see courses. I can just see users, which is why my hierarchy is the way it is. So this is where you can give the different levels. So for instance, I'm going to go into our faculty development one because it's the only one I feel comfortable actually messing with right now. So you can see this is what we call our node. So this is our 81st TRIS, so where we fall under the 81st Train Support Squadron, and then we have our TSF, our flight node. And even, and you can see even under that, I've actually gone down even further and built nodes for each section. So we have a section for our basic instructor course, for our continuation training, for our distance learning courses, and our MTL. So if, say, I only wanted to give our MTLs admin rights in their section, then we can do that. We just have to make sure that our courses are assigned to that MTL node. And then you look at, okay, so who has administrator rights under the flight? Well, it looks like pretty much everybody does. We pretty much gave all of our online learning instructors and our CDMs, as well as our flight chief and our TM, they all have admin rights underneath our flight. Now, if you go under add administrator, this is what I was talking about, where you would search for the username, and then you would, once you select the username, you would then select items that you want to give access to. So if you want someone to be a user administrator, you would select that, select the arrow, and then move them over to the selected items to give them whichever rights that you want. Once you give them any type of administrator rights, it's going to bring that system admin role up. Do you not have an account, or you can't see it? You don't have, you can't access Blackboard at all. So that is how you are able to add administrators to whatever node that you are wanting. If you click on courses, it's going to show you what courses fall under your nodes. So let me go back down to our piece resistance, which is creating an account, because I know that's what a lot of you are wanting. To create an account, you are going to go to users. Now, when you get to the users page, you're going to go to create user. All right, when you get to this page, you're going to see several fields that have this little asterisk next to it. And you can see at the top it says it's a required field. So you do not have to fill in every single area here. You'll see in the guide that it does give you what you should include for each field, but you do not have to. I don't. I really only fill in the spots that I have to. So if I create a new account, then it's just literally first name, last name. One area that you do want to include in here is an email, because then whenever you send out course announcements, then you can ensure that your students are going to get it. Username. So for the username, traditionally in AETC, we have been using the email. That has been pretty standard across the board. I'm beginning to see that some areas are using different things like first name dot last name. I have with Mr. Bentley, he was kind of pushing for the email. With Mr. Fail, I'm not sure what they want. Hang on, I need to. Okay, there we go. This time I didn't mute myself. So I don't know what Mr. Fail kind of wants the standard to be. I believe just carrying on what Mr. Bentley had the in in the process. But like, yes, Tanya, that's a very great point. Email username does help with the 200 John Smiths. Or I had James Johnson, he was number 225. So it's like James.Johnson, like dot 225. So that can definitely alleviate any issues that you might have, because you have to remember that when you are creating an account, the user that you are creating an account for is not the only person in the system. So if you go and do a search for them later, you're going to, even if you put first name dot last name, if you at least put the email, then you can identify them by their email as well. Here is where you find the node. This is where you're going to add them to whatever hierarchy level. And, excuse me, this is where you're going to add them to whatever hierarchy level you want them to be associated with. So if you are associating students, you can associate them with that particular hierarchy where that course resides in, and that's the only area that they need to have access to. Just like with courses, people can have more than one node as well. So if you have someone who's coming in as a student to your course and they are already have a node associated with them, do not remove their other node. Just add yours to it. And then institution roles, leave it as student unless you know for sure that they're going to need something like AETC, or if you want to add your node to their institution role, then you can do that as well. Otherwise, you want to just keep it as student. And that's pretty much it. Once you do that, then it'll come up in your users and you'll be able to locate them. If you are going to be doing a batch action, you would just do the batch action by either creating users, or you can delete users. However, you do have to have a certain level of rights in order to be able to delete users. And when Mr. Bentley gave me my system level rights, user rights, he said basically, just don't touch anyone's accounts. I told him I would use my power for good instead of evil, and I don't know if he appreciated that. But yes, that's something that you want to keep in mind. I'm going to mute somebody. Sorry, I'm muting you. All right, so that is all I have. Pretty much, unless there are any particular questions that any of you all have that I can answer, I appreciate, even though we went over a few minutes due to the multiple times that we timed out and we got kicked out of the system. It happens. But if you have any questions regarding this, okay, question. Under System Admin tab, Communities, Tabs and Modules. What is the purpose of that? Good question. Is there a practice area where you can do all this? There is not a sandbox. They did away with that. That was the information Mr. Natty sent me last time. And so you do have to have a certain level of rights in order to get access to some of these. However, I do like saying that if you do not have a certain level of rights, or if you want access to playing around in kind of a sandbox, I do like Blackboard course sites because it is free and you won't affect anything in the AETC system. So that is a site that you can, if you want a certain level of rights to play with certain things, you can play in that. A good step-by-step guide that will walk you through. I do like the Blackboard help site. and it's also in the guide. It's under resources. But that is my go-to. Yes, there are a lot of CDC writers all over AETC. Actually, there are a bunch of CDC writers at Keesler. There are CDC writers at Goodfellow. The ISR CDC writers, I know for one is Master Sergeant Sims. He's one of them at Goodfellow, and he's a great resource. Master Sergeant John Sims is the name, and he is in the global. They've been working doing their CDCs. Another one is Tech Sergeant Athena Galat. She is the Command Post CDC writer. She's actually they call it the course learning moderator. They have a special name for it. Learning experience moderator, something like that. And yes, it's anything that Mr. Nye says, anything that's created that's no good can be deleted by the creators, kind of free play. Yes. So if you are looking for CDC writers that are converting, I can send you some names that I know for sure that have a lot of experience with this. All right, so there was a question about the tabs and modules. So the tabs and modules, the tabs is where you can create and edit a module tool or a link tab. When I talk about a link tab, those are the things at the top up here where you say courses, content, collection, and system admin. Those are tabs that you can actually create for navigation. Your modules are those little boxes. So you can play with those to actually create more boxes that you can add on the home page for users to see. It's just a matter of playing around with them. And I learned how to do a lot of those at the Blackboard help site. Okay. Are there any other questions? Yes, and if you want a guide, please email me. I tried to get some names of the people that wanted it. And if you guys want, I can also send it in the follow-up email in case you didn't get it the first time. So it was attached on the email I sent out with the link for today's session if you are looking for it as well. All right, any other questions? The Blackboard Awards on YouTube is a great place to start to get ideas. We actually showcase that in our IDLE course simply because even AETC is not AETC led, but it is a great way to get design ideas and ways to integrate active learning strategies, other activities to just create an engaging type of course. And like I said, we showcase that in IDLE to give our students ideas of things that they can utilize in their own courses. Because even though it's not AETC led, you can actually integrate a lot into your course to make it engaging and make it really student-centered and active learning in an online environment. You are so welcome, and thank you all for bearing with me throughout the bumps in the internet. I really appreciate it. I don't think we got everybody back at the end. I think they thought we were done. So I am going to work on compiling all of this together. It looks like we have several sessions to download recordings of, and you may get multiple links, but I'm going to try and splice them all together. So thank you all so much for attending today. I really appreciate it. And if you don't know, we have another one next month, and I will send out the link for the sign-up sheet if you haven't already done so. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Have a wonderful day. Bye.